Hi guys, it's Kari, and I am here to talk to you about a really important subject that we call detox. Now, the word detox gets kind of a weird buzz. Some of it accurate, some of it not so much. But when we're talking about detox, we are talking about a really important way to just help the lymphatic system, which is your body's trash removal system, basically, do its job. What it's not is necessarily fasting or cleansing or depleting the body of anything that it actually needs. It's also not removing the chemotherapy. And a lot of people think that that's what it is, but that's not what it is at all. Again, it's just helping the lymphatic system do what it's supposed to do. So we're going to dive in here pretty quickly. I have a presentation to show you. I'm going to take my screen away because, as you may know by now, I have a really hard time looking at my face and doing a presentation at the same time. So I'm going to do this, pull up my presentation, and then share with you just my top 10 detox tips, learning how to take the trash out. So, as with all of our presentations, I have a little disclaimer. This information is for educational purposes only. I am not a doctor. Our stance here at Kick Cancer is to consult with your doctor before starting, stopping any prescription medication, and this is not a substitute for the professional care of your physician. Now, just a quick reminder of who I am. My name is Kari Utes, and I am a founding board member of Kick Cancer. And my why involves this little one on the top with me. Her name is Danny, and at 15 months old, she was diagnosed with leukemia. And I know many of you are dealing with the same thing. And as she started her treatment, about 30 days in, she started dealing with a lot of the dreaded side effects that chemotherapy brings with it. And so when Susan and I connected, and I learned all about the important ways that we needed to support her lymphatic system to help detox all of the things that we are inevitably exposed to, right, in our environment, in our food, and just in the air that we breathe. And that's something that sometimes we can't avoid. But with all of those things inundating our lymphatic system, and then you add chemo or radiation or medication on top of that, and it's a recipe for a lot of sickness. So as soon as we started detoxing and adding some of these measures into her just daily life, we noticed that she was a whole lot healthier. And her chemotherapy was not having the side effects that it did in the beginning. So let me explain a few things before we get started. First of all, when we talk about toxins and toxic load that can build up in the body, what are we talking about? Well, there are lots. Environmental toxins, body products, processed foods, and actually even organic foods have traces of toxins, you guys. Pharmaceuticals for sure, and even our water supply. In fact, like I said before, many of these toxins actually can't be avoided. So we're obviously going to do the best we can to avoid the ones that we can, but those that we can't, we need to figure out how to detox. In fact, did you know that the number of toxins found in a newborn baby's cord blood, a child that hasn't even been born yet, ranged from 55 to over 120? It's pretty shocking. So what do all these things mean? Let's break them down a little bit further. Environmental toxins. When we talk about environmental toxins, we mean the things in our environment. Things like electromagnetic fields, which are more and more rampant these days in our communities. Pesticides, sprayed on our foods, sprayed on our crops, sprayed on all sorts of things. Pollution, air pollution in general. And then also synthetic fragrances. Toxic body products. Do you guys know that a woman, on average, puts between 70 and 160 toxins on their skin every single day through perfumes, cosmetics, feminine hygiene products, and lotions? Things like that are actually very, very toxic. And our skin actually absorbs toxins even quicker than when we ingest them. That's pretty scary. Then we have toxic foods. Now, you guys have already learned a little bit about toxic foods, but the genetically modified foods that you're hearing about so much in the news that people are saying aren't really that big of a deal, they actually are. They've been linked to toxic and allergic reactions, sick, sterile, and dead livestock, and damage to virtually every organ studied in lab animals. That is scary. And then, of course, we have toxic medication. And of course, when you're in the situation that we're in, or maybe you have been in with regard to cancer, sometimes medication can't be avoided. But when it can be, we really want to make sure that we can choose a natural alternative. So here are some statistics. 28% of women and 22% of men over 65 take 5 or more medicines regularly. What does that say about how we've been taught to think about our healthcare in this country? Properly prescribed medications are actually responsible for over 100,000 deaths every year in the US. So that's not someone abusing medication. That's not someone taking medication prescribed to someone else. That's a properly prescribed medication responsible for deaths. And even a single course of antibiotics can permanently alter the gut flora. So medications really can wreak havoc on our body systems. And then we have our toxic water. This is especially scary because think of all the things we use our water supply for. We are finding lots of things in water that should not be there. Things like pharmaceuticals. And by the way, a side note, when you are disposing of your pharmaceuticals, please make sure you're trying to find the proper way to do so. I know in our community, it's at the police station. Do not just put them in the garbage. They will end up in landfills, and that's how it ends up in our water supply. Fluoride. Fluoride is a little bit of a controversial subject, but I'll tell you my take. Fluoride, by nature, is actually a dangerous toxic poison that bioaccumulates in your body while actually being pretty ineffective at preventing dental decay. But how many times do you hear about water being fluoridated? And it's supposedly for tooth health, but we're ingesting that and it's building up in our body and causing us to be pretty sick. Radiation, heavy metals, and pesticides, all in our water supply. Now, let's talk a little bit about our detox organs. What does that mean? This is basically our lymphatic system, and all these things work together to rid our body of toxic load. And typically our lymphatic system does a pretty decent job. But over time, and especially when we're inundated with more and more toxic substances in our life and in our environments and in our food and in our water supply, we need to give it a little bit of help. Most especially when our kids or us are in the situation that we're in right now, dealing with cancer. So detox organs, we actually have many, but I'm going to just touch on the heavy hitters. Your skin. Your skin is actually your largest detox organ. It actually expels toxin through your sweat. Your liver. Your liver is your primary detox organ, and it has actually 2 phases of detox. Your lungs. Your lungs eliminate waste produced as a result of metabolic activity. Carbon dioxide is carried by the blood to be expelled through the body, or from the body, through the lungs. And then you have your kidneys. Your kidneys extract residual wastes and surplus water from the blood to produce urine that will finally be expelled from the body. So, how do we do this? How do we focus on detox so that it doesn't build up, we don't end up with a huge toxic load, and we're sicker than we need to be? So here are our tips. Number 1, clean up your diet. I know you already heard a lot about diet and nutrition in week 1. We want you to continue with those week 1 tips, especially eliminating sugars, grains, pasteurized dairy, and processed foods, and focus really good on whole, real, organic, nutrient-dense foods in their most natural state. Those are the foods that your body is meant to and familiar with assimilating and metabolizing and expelling as waste if need be. Tip number 2, optimize your digestion. What we really want to do is make sure that our gut is acidic enough to digest our food properly. So here's what we can do. A couple different ideas. Now with kids, some of these might not be super easy, but we'll list them anyway, and then you can decide. You can ingest 2 tablespoons of raw apple cider vinegar mixed with water, taken after each meal. You can also do some sort of gut enzyme. PB Assist is a great product from doTERRA that can help just acidify the gut so that you can metabolize and digest your food better. PB Assist Junior is actually a wonderful new product made just for kids if your kids can't swallow pills yet. Terrazyme is another digestive enzyme, also by doTERRA, that's really helpful in also just keeping that gut really healthy so that it can digest your food. Incorporate fermented foods into your diet. Examples would be raw sauerkraut or pickles. I know my daughter loves pickles. And then you can also use 2 drops of doTERRA's Digest Zen essential oil on your belly after each meal. Detox tip number 3, your water intake. Now this one should be pretty simple. And if your kids are used to having juices or sodas or anything like that, it might be difficult to go cold turkey. I will tell you that with my kids, we thought we were being super healthy by using organic apple juice, right? But a lot of those juices are actually not cold pressed, they're pasteurized, which means once they've been heated up to a certain temperature, all the good stuff is actually gone and all that's left behind is sugars. So it's not very good. So if you need to, you can kind of start weaning them off by cutting it with water, or adding a little bit of essential oils to the water is also a really great tip. So what we really want to be focused on is drinking half your body weight in ounces per day, but no more than that. Because if you drink more than that, now you're starting to actually help wash out, for lack of a better term, some of the things that are in your body that need to stay there, things like vital nutrients. You can add 2 drops of high quality lemon essential oil to each 20-ounce glass of water. That's actually really delicious, and it does help the liver actually effectively detox the body. Invest in a good quality water filtration system. There are a couple different places that we recommend. RadiantLifeCatalog.com has very affordable water filtration systems for your whole house or just under the sink, or you can also get some countertop ones as well. We always recommend that you drink your water out of glass, not plastic. Plastic will erode over time, and you will be ingesting those toxins as it does. Detox tip number 4, a detox bath. Now this I found to be one of the easiest things to incorporate with Danica. She was only 15 months old when she was diagnosed. And of course, a lot of these other things, like taking shots of raw apple cider vinegar, were not going to happen. So we just gave her baths. That was one of the things we did as much as possible because she already took baths and already enjoyed them. So adding a few extra things to her bath water to make it more effective for detox didn't affect her at all, but it was really, really simple and very, very effective. So what we added was 1 to 2 cups of Epsom salt, 1 to 2 cups of baking soda, 3 to 5 drops of juniper berry essential oil, 3 to 5 drops of rosemary essential oil, 3 to 5 drops of zendocrine essential oil, and a little bit of coconut oil or a clean shampoo or body wash. And what that does is help just kind of assimilate the essential oil into the water so it doesn't just float on the top. Then you can use a dechlorinating ball. Now, if you haven't gotten your water tested and you're not sure how clean your water is, a dechlorinator ball is actually a really good idea. You can see it there in the picture, and you can order that from that Radiant Life catalog that I mentioned before. But that's just going to help absorb some of the chlorine and toxins that could be present in your water that effectively are sort of undoing the detox that you're trying to do in the first place. Detox tip number 5, a castor oil pack. Now we thought this one was going to be really difficult, but it turned out very simple. Now I will tell you that in the beginning, Danny only did this for maybe 5 or 10 minutes at a time, but a little bit was still better than nothing. And over time, she got used to it and actually enjoyed it. So what you're going to do is get some castor oil. Castor oil is very easy to find. You can order it on Thrive Market. You can get it at Whole Foods, lots of different places. You're going to apply a generous amount of oil over the liver location. Now the liver is actually over on the right-hand side of the body, right underneath the rib cage. Now, if you don't remember that, that's okay. In fact, for probably the first, 6 or 7 months that we did castor oil packs, I had to Google image search it every single time. So add your castor oil, add a drop of zendocrine oil or the rosemary and juniper berry that we talked about before. Then place a piece of flannel or washcloth on the top of the oil. Then place a hot water bottle or a heating pad on top of the cloth. The heat helps drive the castor oil and the essential oil deeper into the skin and into the liver. thereby helping that detox process happen even more effectively. You want to rest with the pack for at least 30 to 45 minutes. What we did is we did this on family movie night. So we would all lay down and just let her watch a movie. And again, in the beginning, it was a pretty short period of time, but we built up to probably about an hour. And here's a little tip. If you have somebody who's a little bit finicky, doesn't really like laying there for that long of a period of time, then maybe do it right before they're going to sleep and have them fall asleep with it on. So then you're not so worried about them wanting to get up, move around, play, etc. Detox tip number 6 is juicing. So juicing is actually a really healthy way to get lots of vital nutrients in your diet, but also help detox the body. So this is actually Season's favorite juice recipe. Not mine, but I'm going to share Season's because it's actually one of the best ones out there in terms of detoxification. You're going to use 1 green apple, 1 lemon, 6 collard green leaves, 2 mustard green leaves, 4 beet green leaves, 1 whole beet, a small chunk of ginger, 2 cucumbers, 1 lime, a dash of cayenne, and 3 drops of grapefruit essential oil. Now this blend is actually very effective for detox. I don't know a whole lot of kids who are going to drink this right away. But remember, you can make little fun names for some of your juices and some of your vegetables and some of your things that you really want them to eat or ingest, but you're not going to call it a juice, right? Or you're not going to call it a green smoothie. Maybe you're going to call it a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle smoothie, or maybe you're going to call it a Hulk drink. But if you get this in them, I promise it will help them detoxify. Now, if you can't get all of this in them, that's okay. The apple, the lemon, the ginger, maybe some cucumbers, you could certainly do that and then just sort of inch forward on some of the greens if your kids are not used to the tastes of some of these ingredients. Detox tip number 7. This is actually a super simple way to detoxify as well. Danny used to do this actually all by herself. So how many of you have heard of dry brushing? It sounds a little crazy, but I promise you it's actually very effective and super simple and quick to do. So what you want to do is dry brush every day before you shower, or just in general. We used to do it before Danny would take her detox baths. Using short strokes or a circular motion, you just brush over the entire outer surface of your body. You want to do it very gently. You do not need to press hard. You don't want to scrape up your skin. And of course, if your child is having some skin sensitivity issues due to their chemotherapy, you want to be really careful with this one. You're going to brush from the head and the tips of the fingers and the tips of the toes towards the heart. Be sure to include your palms and the soles of your feet if you can. And you guys, this is a very short process. We're talking 45 seconds to maybe a couple of minutes, and that's it. And what you're doing is you're stimulating that lymphatic system. Because remember, what's a part of your lymphatic system? Your skin. Your skin is actually your largest organ in your lymphatic system. It's the last to detox. So you're really just stimulating it to start pushing those toxins out. Tip number 8 is oil pulling. Oil pulling is a little bit crazy. Certainly not something that probably young kids can do, but if you have an older child or if you yourself want to use this, it's actually very effective for pulling out toxins. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to put 1/8 to 1/4 of a cup of organic sesame or coconut oil in your mouth, and you're going to swish for 15 to 20 minutes. Now that's not a typo. It's not seconds, it's minutes. And I know that sounds like a really long time. The first time I oil pulled, I thought there's no way that I'm going to last 15 to 20 minutes. This is so disgusting. But trust me, the 15 to 20 minutes actually goes pretty quickly, especially if you do it during maybe like a morning routine and you're in the shower, or maybe a nighttime routine before you go to bed. So after 15 to 20 minutes of swishing, you're going to spit the oil into a tissue or into the garbage, or when the summer months are coming around, I actually walk right onto the deck and spit it onto my lawn. But the one thing you want to remember is not to spit it down the drain, because that oil will coat your pipes and it can cause plumbing problems. So what you can do then is mix a teaspoon of sea salt into some water, wash the solution around your mouth. This is going to help kill and flush out the remaining toxins. You can add 1 drop of peppermint essential oil for fresh breath. Now, some people like adding a few other essential oils instead or in addition, things like On Guard, which helps give you an immune boost. There's a couple other ones as well. But for me, peppermint would be my favorite if I'm going to use it for oil pulling. So what this is doing, you guys, is we have so many toxins that present themselves in that soft tissue in your mouth, especially in your gums. So as you swish, that coconut oil, that sesame oil, is starting to pull those toxins out. That's why it's called oil pulling. Detox tip number 9. Now, this is a really fun one, and it's actually really good for fitness as well. In addition, for our kids that have the tendency to get constipated or have sort of muscles and bones and stuff that sort of get a little atrophied because they don't feel well and they just kind of want to lay around, doing rebounding and having them jump and play is actually really, really important. The lymphatic system is responsible for delivering cellular waste to the bloodstream for elimination. So when you exercise, specifically jumping, it actually stimulates the lymphatic system to function. So all you need is a small little trampoline. It doesn't have to be a big one. So you don't have to drop a couple $100s on a big old trampoline for your house or for your backyard. You can use a small one. I know that even Walmart and Target have those really small ones for like toddlers, and they have like a little jumping bar that you can hold on to. That's a fun thing to do, even when your kids are very small. So we had Danny do this all the time, and she loved it. And then detox tip number 10. You want to eliminate synthetic fragrances. Now, this seems like a pretty simple one, but honestly, you guys, synthetic fragrances hide in almost every single product we are accustomed to using, unless we've been really intentional about eliminating them. Laundry products are one of our biggest culprits. Consider wool dryer balls instead, and you add a few essential oils. You can order those on Amazon. They're very, very easy to get. Candles. I know, our coveted candles. Most of you have probably heard the news about how toxic they are. And it's true, unfortunately, even if they're not lit. So we've actually eliminated all candles, even the ones for decor, in our home. We just don't use them anymore. But of course, we don't want our house to smell nasty, so we diffuse essential oils instead, thereby actually improving our health and wellness rather than potentially harming it. Scented bath and body products. You want to use unscented or naturally scented clean body products instead. So we're talking sprays and deodorants and cosmetics and lotions, all kinds of stuff. There are so many things that we as women especially put on our body that actually are full of chemicals, and they're disrupting our hormones, our endocrine system, and all kinds of different things. So we really want to eliminate those. And then air fresheners and plugins. Again, you guys, these are everywhere. We have so many things in our home that just give a nice scent, again, because we don't want things to smell bad. But a good replacement is going to be a diffuser with some pure essential oil. Again, now you're actually helping to improve your health and wellness rather than harm it. All right, you guys, I hope that you learned some really important detox tips and took away a couple different things that you know that you can incorporate with your family right now. You're not going to be able to do everything, but slowly but surely, you are going to get better, and you're going to reduce the toxic load and thereby increase the detox and the health and well-being of your family.